It's tippy time.
And that is all it's gonna be.
Toodles!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I am, of course, your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Wednesday. Good to see everybody here. As y'all know, I was out of action for about a week due to not feeling too good. I still have a little congestion, a slight cough, but can't keep the fans waiting. Got to give the people what they want. Let's get through this. It is good to see people in the chat room. What is up, Emmanuel? What is up, Walter? Unfortunately, Emmanuel, I did my Raw review yesterday. Today is NXT, and as a little bit of a bonus, I threw in TNA Explosion because I didn't watch TNA last week due to not feeling well. But I felt like I owed it to the people that I promised that I would watch it until No Surrender. That since I took that day off due to illness, that I owed them little something extra. So I watched Explosion, and we're going to talk about all of it. Let me see here. Find my stuff real quick. There it is. Forgot the Explosion was only an hour, technically 40 minutes on YouTube. So it only took one sheet of paper. Explosion this week gave us such matches as Shira versus Rhino and Rich Swann versus Joe Hendry. And as a lot of you guys may know, I have people in my camp that believe in Joe Hendry and are waiting for me to believe in Joe Hendry. But as of Explosion last night, I still do not believe in Joe Hendry. First off, when it comes to Shira versus Rhino, this was a decent match between two men that commentator Gia Miller called the Battle of the Beasts. Shira dominated the majority of the match and looked really good, like they were setting them up to be a strong competitor. I don't know how long Shira's been in TNA, if this was its first match, but they really made him look strong against the man-beast Rhino. However, thanks to a timely momentum shift, Rhino was able to hit his gore, get the victory. You know, really cut and dry here at the end of the day, but still a fun little match. After that, Gia Miller then interviewed Ace Austin, part of the ABC, and wanted to kind of get us to know him just a little bit better outside of the ring. So she asks him his biggest fear, which is being paralyzed, his favorite school subject, which was English, and then he goes on to say that his least favorite was math. His favorite animal is a monkey, and his favorite food is ground turkey and donuts. Now, I don't really care about Ace Austin like that, but I did think that this was a cool little segment to introduce on Explosion to help fans get to know the performers a little bit better. I don't know if this is going to be a recurring thing every week. I never really watched Explosion before when TNA had it way back in the day because never was on in my area. It was kind of just local to the Florida, Tennessee, east and south over there. I never had it. So if this is something that they've always done on Explosion, awesome. I look forward to getting to know a little bit more about the performers going forward. Main event of the show was Rich Swann versus Joe Hendry. And this was a good main event match, even though Rich Swann injured himself during the contest. They did a slingshot over the top rope, and kind of jammed his knee on his way down. He tried to go onto the turnbuckle to hit a high-risk move, just buckled, crotched himself. Joe Hendry was able to capitalize, get the victory. It was a good match. Joe Hendry did make me laugh a little bit because when he first came out there, he said he was there to kick ass and eat Cheez-Its. Of course, kind of referencing Roddy Piper's line from They Live about he's there to kick ass and chew bubblegum, but he's all out of bubblegum. The Cheez-It line, of course, referring back to AJ Francis, formerly known as Top Dollar, who he had an altercation with a couple weeks ago on Impact. But again, it was a fun show. It was a good little show. 40 minutes on YouTube. No real commercials except for the pop-up ads that tried to play on my YouTube. But of course, you just hit skip once the little timer lets you. What do you guys think? Those of you that have watched TNA Explosion, those of you that are fans of TNA, do you want to see me continue to cover Explosion each week as I do my other Impact reviews and just bring Explosion along with me when I do my NXT coverage? Let me know. Leave comments in the comment box. Let me also go ahead and remind you guys here before I get into the meat and potatoes of this week's show, the NXT review. It's the last of the month, which means it's the last time that you guys can get super chats, super stickers in, and it'll count for this month. Anything starting tomorrow will be for February. So if you enjoy my content, if you enjoy the product that I put out there, if you enjoy me being here on a daily basis doing some reviews, show some love with a super chat. It goes a long way to help me out in these tough times right now. So moving on to NXT, and I don't have images for those like I did for Explosion. I just figured I would use those to kind of help show off what Explosion is giving to the fans on a basis. Maybe it's something I'll start doing going forward. We'll see. But the show started off with the semifinals of the Dusty Classic as Trick Mello took on the LWO. And this was some phenomenal tag team action, super fast paced, some insane double team maneuvers, including a double team coast to coast, or as it was originally called, the Van Terminator in ECW. Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde both came off of the ropes at the same time to hit Carmelo Hayes. Freaking amazing spot. Mello was isolated for a good chunk of the match, but a flurry of offense towards the end allowed him to get the hot tag to Trick. Came in, nailed the Trick knee. I believe it was on Joaquin Wilde. Got the victory. Trick Mello moving on to Vengeance Day for the finals of the Dusty Classic against Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. Should be a great match. Now Trick's got double duty that he's got to do at Vengeance Day. And me and Datilla talked a little bit about this last night. I was a special guest on her Rangers of Wrestling show for her NXT review. If they don't pull the trigger on the Trick Mello feud at Vengeance Day, nobody is going to care anymore. Whether Mello is who attacked Trick or not, or set Trick up to be attacked, it's kind of irrelevant at this point. So it's like it needs to happen. My gut feeling is that they're going to lose the finals to Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. And then during the main event, Trick versus Ilya, that's when Mello's going to flip the switch. And he's going to turn on Trick. because he doesn't like the fact that Trick is getting the spotlight that he used to get. And then I'm not sure if there's going to be a monthly special in March, because they tend to do a TV special in the months that they don't have a PLE. So if there's a TV special in March, I predict it'll be Ilya versus Mello versus Trick for the title. And then as the fallout of that match, it'll become Trick versus Mello at Stand and Deliver, with Mello probably moving up to the main roster after that. That's my thought process on it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. We then went to Ava Rain and Ridge Holland backstage, and Ridge wants the Gallus boys 3-on-1. Ava's a little bit concerned about Ridge's well-being for that. She's not really a fan of that idea. In comes Lexis Keene with a gift basket for Ava, filled with 8x10s of him and his merchandise. And she gives it to him as a gift, and she's just repulsed by Lexis Keene. She wants no part of him. So she ends up making a match, Ridge Holland versus Lexis Keene, for later on in the evening. She in turn then gives the gift basket to Ridge, who gives it back to Lexis, re-gifting it, and then gives him like a hearty pat on the back as he exits out. We then saw Tatum Paxley backstage, and she's looking at a picture of her and Lyra Valkyria, and she's just swooning over Lyra and blowing up her text messages, trying to communicate with her because she hasn't talked to her ever since last week's NXT. Lyra comes in and she wants answers for Paxley's actions last week when she put Roxanne through the table. And Paxley, whatever reason, thought that's what Lyra wanted, because Lyra had been talking about how Roxanne is taking up a lot of her time and her energy. So in Tatum Paxley's twisted mind, she thought that if she got rid of Roxanne Perez, Lyra would be free. She wouldn't have to worry about that, expound energy on it, and she wouldn't have an opponent for Vengeance Day. Excuse me. She's told that that's not what she meant at all. And as a result, Paxley's about to take on Roxanne, and again reiterates that once she's done, she won't have an opponent for Vengeance Day. So we then go to Roxanne Perez versus Tatum Paxley, and Roxy was just straight up out for revenge in this one after being put through the table at the hands of Tatum Paxley. She got that revenge. She just went out there, guns blazing. It's whole other intensity that we've been slowly seeing from Roxanne in recent weeks and months. Slightly darker. Hasn't quite pulled the trigger on going full-blown crazy and heel yet. But man, the intensity level that she brought last night was just crazy. Pop Rocks got the victory. Little bit predictable, but didn't make it any less of a good match. We then went backstage and had Ariana Grace talking to Ren Sinclair and kind of giving her the charm school type of speech. You know, this is how you need to be. You don't want to be like this. You want to be like this. And she starts running down, you know, hardworking people, farmers, etc. Fallon Henley happens to come in during all this and is overhearing this. And of course, Fallon Henley, this cowgirl, she's the one that works on the farm. So, one second, everybody. Sorry about that, folks. So Fallon gets insulted by all this and ends up where a match is made between Ariana Grace and Fallon Henley, and Ren Sinclair leaves with Fallon because she feels that Fallon Henley is more the person that she wants to look up to as opposed to Ariana Grace. Next match is Lola Vice versus Elektra Lopez. This comes off the heels of last week, and this was almost as intense of a match as Roxanne versus Tatum was, but still, this was a knockdown, drag out brawl between two friends that have turned into enemies. Both women tried to beat the ever living shit out of the other one, and they were more or less successful. Lola got the victory again, kind of predictable because we saw Elektra Lopez on SmackDown last week, kind of realigning with Santos Escobar in the Legado World Order. She, of course, used to run with Santos in the Legado del Fantasma. So her allegiance to Santos is not very surprising, but a lot of people are suspecting this was probably her final match on the brand. I could maybe see one more between her and Lola as a final blow off, but I definitely see Elektra going up to the main roster here shortly. We then had Joe Gacy go into Dijak's office and basically just proceeded to push all of Dijak's buttons, saying that, he's not going to stay down, he's not going to go away. Ends up lunging across the table at Dijak. The two start brawling, and this is going to become a recurring theme throughout the night where we'll see a backstage segment or something, and they'll just start brawling through it. Think about the old cartoons you would watch where two people would start brawling and it would turn into like the little ball of dust and they would roll through the scenes and all the different situations. That's kind of what this was. They started brawling, and then later on the night there was a backstage segment and they brawled through it, and then they ended up outside brawling through some stuff, and just we'll get to it as we get to it, but it was very entertaining the way they did that. This brings us to the match that was set up between Ridge Holland and Lexis King, and this was an absolute banger between these two rivals. Ridge and Lexis took it to each other toe to toe. Gallus interfered, allowing Lexis King to hit his finisher, the coronation, and get the victory. We go backstage and we see Duke Hudson, Riley Osborne, and Andre Chase from Chase U, all dressed in black, and they look like they're preparing for a funeral. Of course, Chase U has been under investigation. They're in debt. They owe all this money. They got all the stuff repossessed a couple of weeks ago, including Andre Chase's podium, Duke's MVP award. So, with the university looking like it's going out of business and folding, they look like they're dressed for a funeral. After that, we get a Trick Mellows promo backstage, kind of talking about how they're hyped for their tag team match at Vengeance Day, and then Trick's going to win the title, and just going to be this huge night for Trick Willie. And Mello tries to remind Trick about Ilya and don't trust him. He's trying to set you up, blah, blah, blah. Trick ain't trying to hear it. Mello definitely playing puppet master here, trying to maneuver everything the way he wants it. We then go inside the ring with Andre Chase, Duke Hudson, Riley Osborne. And again, it feels like a funeral. Andre Chase begins to talk about how we've allowed him to live his dream and the highs and the lows of Chase U. and all the successes that he's had and what it's meant to him. And the crowd is showing their support. And then Duke Hudson gets on the mic and talks about being the MVP of Chase U and what that's meant to him. And he even jokes about how he had to threaten some students to put together a video package for him. And they throw this video package up that is, it's soundtracked by the song Tell Me a Lie, which, if you remember your history, I believe Tell Me a Lie was the song that played when Shawn Michaels lost his smile. So HBK booking NXT, we throw that in there. And it's this very, very sad but humorous at the same time video package, because they're showing, how Chase U came into being and Andre Chase opening up the school and the first day of Chase University. And they show Thea Hale becoming a student and Duke becoming a student and them going to London. And Andre Chase is about to get knighted as Sir Andre Chase. And forgive me, I forget the guy's name, but the guy that used to be in Chase U with the long blonde hair, they show him in some of the video packages. I remember he was there when I first started watching NXT, but then as Duke Hudson kind of got phased in, he got phased out. But yeah, it just really great video package. Brought a smile to Andre Chase's face. And then JC Jane's music hits. And at first I'm like, oh man, what is she doing? Because there was a lot of skepticism when JC Jane first started hanging around Chase U. Everyone thought she was trying to convert Thea to the dark side, turn her away from Chase U. And while Thea did embrace a little bit more of an edgier side of herself, her loyalties have still been with Chase U. And so JC and Thea come to the ring and talks about, how when you need something done, you call a woman. And she begins to lay out how she came up with this articulate plan to save Chase U, and she presents the Ladies of Chase U calendar and starts talking about how the projected sales for this calendar, which will be on sale supposedly beginning Sunday at Vengeance Day, this calendar is going to make enough money to not only bring Chase U out of debt, but be able to carry Chase U through the next decade. Andre Chase is ecstatic. He's jumping up and down. He's on the verge of tears. He's hugging JC, who kind of sort of embraces him back. He makes JC an official member. Chase University, here to stay. It's why I'm rocking the outfit today, baby. Even got the toxic hat on because she said during her promo that when she first joined Chase U, she was a little bit toxic, alluding to her days in Toxic Attraction. Honestly, this was my segment of the night. Shouldn't surprise anybody knowing how much I love Chase U. We then had a D'Angelo family promo where they kind of talk about, how whenever you needed something handled, you called Rizzo. You called Rizzo, the girl that's been with them here recently. And they start talking up their 6-person tag match that's going to be at Vengeance Day, them taking on Out the Mud with Jada Parker. So kind of getting a little bit of hype for that. We then had Fallon Henley prepping backstage for her match when Brooks Jensen walked in. And ever since Briggs and Jensen broke up and went their separate ways, Briggs has been making moves. Fallon's been making moves. Jensen's kind of just slipped through the cracks. So he goes up to her and tries to reminisce about the good times when they were a team. And Rin Sinclair comes in, tells Fallon it's almost time for a match, and they leave him behind. She's like, we're going to have to do this later. I've got to go. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Jensen because, again, he's kind of fallen through the cracks here. It definitely seems like he's trying to bring Fallon over to his side, probably so he can make himself a little bit more relevant. But I'm not sure if it's going to work. We then go backstage and chase you backstage. And Andre Chase is thanking JC for saving his life. And Lexis Keene comes in and tries to flirt with JC and Thea. But Riley steps up and, Lexis is like, why are you always getting involved in my stuff? And Riley says he's exactly where he needs to be, between Thea and JC. As this is going on, Dijak and Joe Gacy come brawling through, going back to what I was talking about earlier. And that comment from Riley Osborne really kind of hit me in the gut because it's making me think that what Arlene has been saying all along is going to end up coming true. And I don't want that to happen. Please, God, don't let that happen. I don't want to see Riley turn on Thea for JC. That's a hot take, Emmanuel, that she might try to date Lexis just to get to Riley. But Thea's even posted on her social that, she clearly has a type and Lexis is not it. No Tiffany segment since her punishment, which is interesting. What punishment? I didn't hear about Tiff getting punished. And she was in the Rumble last Saturday. So, while I do find it a little surprising that she wasn't there after the Rumble, what punishment are we talking about? We then go to the match between Fallon Henley and Ariana Grace, and this was a decent little match, but shenanigans ensued that allowed Ariana to get the victory as Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson came in and kind of attacked Fallon. The storyline with the barn. Okay, I wouldn't really say that was punishment. It was just a bet. And she fulfilled her end of the bet. And then, like I said, she was at the Rumble, so I'm surprised she wasn't there hot off the heels of the Rumble. Braun was there, Mello was there, Roxanne was there. Everybody else that was a part of the Rumble was there except for Tiff. I did find that interesting. So, like I said, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson costing Fallon the match. Not a fan of that screwy finish, but if it gets us to probably Fallon and Ren versus Lash and Jakara, that might be good, whether that's next week on NXT or a couple weeks down the road. I feel like we got to let this bubble a little bit more. We then got an Out the Mud promo responding to the D'Angelo family one, where Bronco Nima and Lucian Price, Scripts, Reggie, and Jada Parker kind of all gave their thoughts and responded to try to build up the match. Honestly, nothing memorable was said in the segment. It was just kind of a counter promo. We then went outside, and Joe Gacy and Dijak were brawling on top of what looked like a production truck or something. And Dijak throws Gacy off of it and into a dumpster down below. We then go backstage and we have Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin hyping up their finals match against Trick Mello at Vengeance Day. Noam Dar then took on Von Wagner for the Heritage Cup. This was a waste of time, in my opinion, waste of space. Von Wagner lost. Noam Dar retained. What a surprise. Fallon Henley did come out to get some revenge on Jakara and Lash, who were out there, of course, part of Metaphor, supporting Noam Dar. But other than that, it was just whatever. I really could give two shits about Noam Dar. I'm ready for him to lose the Heritage Cup. I think the problem is without the Heritage Cup, Noam Dar ain't shit. And I think they realize that, which is why they keep the belt, the trophy with him. He has nothing without that trophy. Metaphor will probably leave him when he loses that trophy. And then he's just stuck. And I think that's part of the problem. Because I am so over him. You know, me and Datilla discussed last night. Chad Gable should have won that shit a couple of weeks ago. We then go back outside, and Ava Raine is chastising Dijak, who wants a no DQ match against Joe Gacy. Ava hesitates, but Joe Gacy pops up from inside the dumpster and says that sounds like fun. So, match is made official. Main event segment was Trick and Ilya having a face-to-face. And both men made some pretty good shots at the other one. And Ilya basically said that he's made Trick more relevant than Mello ever did. You know, that Mello needs Trick, Trick doesn't need Mello. And definitely starting to plant some more seeds there. Braun and Corbin come in and start attacking, which brings Mello out to make the save. And there was a great shot to kind of go off the air, and like Mello just has this look on his face like, are they on the same page or not? And we will have to see come Sunday at Vengeance Day. That pretty much wraps up the review for today. I would say all in all, it was probably a solid 8 out of 10 show. Curious to know what you guys thought about it. Let me know in the comments. We are going to take a quick break, quick little preview here. Show you all the watch-alongs that are coming up across the multiverse of media. I think this is updated. You know what? Let me just take a second here. I'm going to stall so I can make sure that the video that's up in here is the most recent one. Don't want to present you guys with something that's outdated. So give me just a couple seconds. Hopefully you guys getting some comments in there. Why is Ava a GM? Is she injured or just not cutting it as a wrestler? I don't really know, Walter, if I'm being honest. She's only had a couple of matches so far. One at Stand and Deliver last year and one at, I want to say it was a TV episode. Both were multi-person matches. So she hasn't had a one-on-one yet. It could very well be that she's just not picking things up the way they had hoped. And with wanting to keep The Rock happy, they're keeping her on TV in this capacity. It could be that everything else is coming along, but they want her to develop more personality. Because right now she's very dry. Her promos are dry. Her personality is dry. everything about her is dry. So it could be that they're hoping that doing this is going to allow her character to develop some and bring out a little bit personality. I'm not really sure, Walter. All right, now I know we've got the current one in there. So we will be right back after this brief commercial showing you all the upcoming watch-alongs that are coming up across the multiverse of media.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. Lots of good stuff coming up across the multiverse of media. Got Vengeance Day, we've got No Surrender, we've got Sacrifice, we've got WrestleMania week. I'm sure a lot more stuff will be added going into WrestleMania. But so much good stuff all the way up until Bash in Berlin. Still waiting on AEW to announce a lot of stuff. Post-Revolution, when Double or Nothing will be, when All Out will be, etc. Forbidden Door, if they're doing that. See if TNA is going to do another Multiverse United WrestleMania weekend like they did this past year. Lots of stuff on the table prospectively. But like I said, this Sunday, February 4th, I believe coverage will begin at either 3:30 or 4 o'clock Pacific, which will be 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern. Myself and Noah on the call, providing you all the play-by-play, live reactions, etc., etc. Make sure you guys tune in today on the Jeff Meacham Network and the Greg Cherry brand to the Greg Cherry Show. That'll be 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And then, of course, tomorrow, make sure you guys tune in. Same bad time, same bad channel for my review of AEW Dynamite. You're not going to want to miss out on that. And until then, I will catch you guys later.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.